What is up? My name is Melissa Makak from Room 51, and this is Teach the Teach 101 on the Dice Tower, where I teach you general tips and tricks on how to teach board games. This is a little bit different from my regular segment, Teach the Teach, where I give you tips and tricks on particular games. And I'm still going to continue doing that segment because I think it's still important, and there's always some sort of nuance as to how to teach every particular game. But Teach the Teach 101 is going to give you a general synopsis of what I do, why I do it, and how I make it work, okay? So for today's episode of Teach the Teach 101, the very first episode, I want to talk about engaging players and getting them into the game. And if you've watched any of my previous episodes of regular Teach the Teach, you'll know that I always start off with the three main things: telling the players the story behind the game, then letting them know the objective, and then how the game ends. So I'm going to go a little bit into that and why I do that. So the story behind the game, that is to get people excited, having fun. I think that is the most important thing you want to make sure, is that people are having fun when playing a game. It's kind of like you being the host, right? If you're hosting a party, you want to make sure everybody's well fed, having fun, whatever it might be. Same thing when teaching a board game. It's sort of like you're hosting a party. You want to, maybe you are hosting a board game party, I don't know. But anyway, so you want to make sure that everybody's having fun and that they understand what's going on. So the way to engage them and get them excited for the game is to tell them the story behind the game. I think you could do that even with abstract strategy games. Something like Santorini, where you're playing as Greek gods and you're building buildings and stuff, right, for Santorini. Or even if you're playing something like Azul and you have all these tiles and whatever. So play on people's strengths too and what their interests specifically. So if somebody's into like Greek mythology, awesome, play on that, or any sort of mythology or whatever. Just play into that, you know who you're playing with usually, unless they're strangers, in which case just be excited and cool, right? And I would say that if you are teaching a game that you like playing, it's a game that you like, it's much easier to show your excitement for the game. When you're excited, other people around you get excited as well. It is infectious, which is cool. If you're teaching a game that you're not particularly fond of, fake it till you make it, okay? It'll be fine. So that is what I would do for the story behind the game. Inject any sort of story you could think of, and think about it beforehand. That's something too. When you're about to teach games, whenever I teach games, I always try to make sure that I've run it over in my head first on how I'm going to teach it, what is the story I'm going to tell players to get them involved, get them engaged into the game, and get them excited for it. The next thing I always tell players is the objective of the game. I do this because for me personally, when I'm learning a game, sometimes people kind of just go straight into the mechanisms of the game and they don't even tell me why I'm doing it, right? What the objective is. Let them know off the bat, because when that happens for me, I start getting lost in the mechanisms. I start forgetting what they are. I start to get confused as to, okay, sure, and why am I doing that? And then that also leads to me forgetting the mechanism, which is a problem. So that's why I like to start off with the objective. That way it's like, oh, okay, so the objective is most points at the end of the game, and you're doing this, which leads to that action, which actually gives me victory points, and that's what I need in order to win the game. Cool, makes sense. This teaches them the flow of the game, which is super important for people to avoid any sort of confusion. Lastly, I go into how the game ends. This is important because people want to know, okay, but like how much time do I have in order to actually complete whatever objective I'm trying to complete for this game? If it's 4 rounds, this is something to note as well. If you know that this game actually starts to ramp up towards the end, or it ends much quicker than people usually tend to anticipate, you might want to let them know that off the bat. Something like Cartographers I'm thinking about, where the first couple of rounds is fairly slow, right? There's a really nice slow pace, I would say. But then the third, and then especially that last round, the winter season, it goes very quickly and players might not be prepared for it. So you want to warn them, say like, all right, we're about to go into territory here where seasons go much quicker. So you're not going to have as much time as you think. All right. So just warning players, and that way they also don't feel sort of bamboozled by the whole thing. Because sometimes it could even lead to a bad experience where it's like, oh, I thought I could do all these things. I just set up for everything. But now I found out I have no more turns left. It's over. And that kind of sucks, right? So you want to make sure that players are a little bit aware of how much time they have in order to complete that objective. Anyway, that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know any sort of general tips you have for engaging players and getting them ready for the foundation of the game. Anyway, I'll catch you next time.